Here we are, and this is, of course, the Pentecost, the day that is about 50 days after what would be the Passover. This is the next big holiday. This was a very important one, and this would be what us modern day Christians, probably one of the most important moments to this day, where the Holy Spirit was blessed to be given to us. We need it. It's one of the most important, crucial pieces of our faith. So, super important. We're going to spend some time talking about what's going on here. These men were gathered in an upper room, probably pretty close to the temple. And they were all together in one place. These are all the believers. This would be, it says in the last chapter, I believe, it talks about who's there. So this would be Mary Magdalene, Mary, mother of Jesus, and then the half brothers of Jesus, and they were all gathered, and they were praying, and they were just waiting for the Holy Spirit to come, which was promised to them. And we pick up, and suddenly there came from heaven a sound like a mighty rushing wind, and it filled the entire house where they were sitting. And divided tongues as of fire appeared to them and rested on each of them. So there's a lot of cool pictures here. Came from heaven a sound like a mighty rushing wind, and it filled the entire house. So it came down like wind, and then it says the next one, and divided tongues as of fire appeared to them and rested on each one of them. So for anyone of you who remember, fire is a super important aspect of how God shows his presence. If we go all the way back to Moses in the burning bush, or other things along those lines, there's a lot of pictures of fire. And as John the Baptist would baptize Jesus, he talks about coming after me. Someone's coming after me who will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. So this is also predicted, right? There will be fire and Holy Spirit. This is just a very good picture of God's presence, and as well as like the pillar of fire that the Israelites followed around as they were exiting Egypt. So fire is, of course, a very big picture of God's presence. And these men and women who are gathered get power from on high. They are filled with the Holy Spirit, and they began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. So speaking in tongues, back then, they were speaking, and everyone could understand what they were saying. So the Holy Spirit was just speaking through them in a way that everyone who was in the gathering would understand what they were saying, which is absolutely crazy that God can do something like that even through the Holy Spirit. It shows the power of the Holy Spirit. It's such a power even today, right? We can't do anything without the Holy Spirit. If we try, we fail. If we try to preach or teach or read the Bible on our own, we don't get anything out of it. It's just we get in the way. But when we do it through the Holy Spirit, things just go so much better because the Holy Spirit is powerful. The Holy Spirit is perfect, and he's inside of us, and we should be making use of him. We aren't to quench or grieve the Spirit. We have to use it, and it's powerful. There's a genuine power that God uses the Holy Spirit in people. So they could understand all these languages. There was dwelling in Jerusalem Jews, devout men from every nation under heaven, and at this sound the multitude came together, and they were bewildered, because each one was hearing them speak in his own language. So they were hearing everything in their own language, and it will go over all the different types of people who were hearing this, and because all the people who were gathered, this is a feast, this is a celebration for these men, or this nation. So there's all sorts of people who speak different languages, and they could all understand what was being said. We see here it says devout men from every nation under heaven. So these are men who were Jews. These were men who knew the laws, knew the Old Testament very well, and they are bewildered. They're bewildered because each one was hearing them speak his own language. They're amazed and astounded, saying, "Are not all these who are speaking Galileans? How can we hear them, each of us in his own native language?" So these guys are bewildered. They're dumbfounded. They're shocked, right? They're like, we hear them and they're speaking in our own language, but how? We don't speak their language. So this is probably mind-blowing to them. And it says that. So they go over all the different places, all the different people they're there, and they say in verse 11, we hear them telling in our own tongues the mighty works of God, and all were amazed and perplexed, saying to one another, what does this mean? But others mocked and said they are filled with new wine. So not only was the Holy Spirit speaking so everyone could understand him, he was speaking about the mighty works of God, right? This is, again, amazing. That's what the Holy Spirit in us can do. Tell of the mighty works of God. Holy Spirit in us prays for us as well. That's an amazing fact, is the Holy Spirit's constantly praying for us. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes I don't know what to pray for myself a lot of times. So it's really comforting knowing that the Holy Spirit is always praying for me. So there's also the doubters. So some were amazed and perplexed, saying to another, what does this mean? But others mocking said they are filled with new wine. So of course, where there's a movement of God, there's going to be those people who are doubters, those people who want to find reasons why this is happening. And they say, they're just filled with new wine. They're just drunk. They don't know what they're talking about. These guys are just crazy. Which is, of course, something that is usually going to happen. If you see like a big revival, like we saw in the colleges, where there's a big revival, there's a lot of the people who are like, what's all that about? They're just crazy. They don't know what they're doing. They're just there because, because other people are there. They don't care. There's going to be people who doubt, and we're told in the Bible that not everyone's the gate is narrow to be a Christian. It's not wide. Wide is the door to death and for eternity. So it is very important that while we are on this earth, that we're making use of the Holy Spirit power within us, because without the Holy Spirit in us, what do we have? We're just going to be speaking our own stuff, which is obviously not nearly as important as what God has to say. And the Holy Spirit is how God wrote the entire Bible. This is a Holy and Spirit inspired book. This is a perfect, without flaw book. And it's just amazing that the Holy Spirit we still have in us today. So hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.